Hey, I am Joanna, in case you don't know, and welcome to my bright orange kitchen. Today I want to talk to you about happy and choosing happiness. And I'm sure you've heard the idea that happiness is a choice, and I totally agree with that, but I think it's often left just at that idea. Happiness is a choice. And I remember thinking, well, what the hell does that mean? How do you choose happy? And so that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, how to choose happy in your life. So I think there are two avenues that we kind of have to walk at the same time to really have a profound experience of happiness and joy in our lives. And before I get started on that, I just want to be clear that happiness is wonderful and it is one emotion. Now, it's an emotion and an energetic experience that I enjoy and want to have lots and lots of. But sometimes we have sadness, and sometimes we experience anger and frustration and grief, and all those are fantastic. I think that there's a way to experience the challenges in the world and still come back to what's in our pleasure, still come back to happy. So, if in this moment you're not feeling like you want to choose happy, totally cool. Don't. Don't choose it unless you want to. But if you want to, let's talk about it. So, there's the inside path and the outside path, the internal and the external. So let's talk a little bit about the external first. To me, that really comes down to doing things in the world that bring us joy, doing the things that we love, doing things that make us happy or increase our happiness quotient inside of us. And it's not just an occasional thing. If happiness is something you really want to choose, then it comes down to choosing into action on a regular basis. So when I get up in the morning, most mornings I make this fabulous list of what I want to accomplish. And to me, it's not just a to-do list. It's really like what I'm deeply committed to experiencing. And sometimes there's practical things, like I have clients to see, I've got blog posts to do, I have to do this video. And other things on the list are ways for me to connect, to plug in, to expand my experience of happiness. There's reading and dancing and sitting outside and going out for a fabulous meal and seeing friends. And that, it's all really yummy stuff. And it's, sprinkled throughout my day because I want to keep choosing into happiness. And that's one of the ways that I'm able to do that. So I recognize that I've got a really blessed schedule, and that part of the work I do in the world is having an amazing human experience and facilitating that in others. So I'm doubly extra committed to that and doing those things in my life. But you can do them too. And it doesn't have to be things that take up hours and hours and of your already busy life. I'm talking about 20 minutes a day, and maybe spread out so that it's in 4 or 5 minute segments throughout your day where you're like, I'm gonna read, or I'm gonna put on the song, I'm gonna dance to it, or I'm gonna call this person that I just love on the phone, I'm gonna text them. It doesn't matter what you do. You know what brings you joy. And if you don't know what brings you joy, that's cool. Make it an experiment. Ask other people what brings them joy and see, and it doesn't have to be like bowling over with happiness where you can't stand and you're laughing and, you're like in Mary Poppins and floating on the ceiling. Sometimes if happiness is new to you, if really choosing into happiness is a new experience, then you got to see what works, and it may start off small and you just got to keep doing it. Go for what feels good, not just the absence of pain. I say that about pleasure all the time. Pleasure is not the absence of pain. It's that which feels really good. And if what feels really good is really small at the moment, that's cool too. But go for it. Try it. And I know you're busy, but I've never met anyone who couldn't find 10 to 20 minutes in their day if it's something they want. So if you're sitting back and thinking, like, I wish there was just more happiness, there was more joy, there was more pleasure, there was more electricity, whatever it is that you are desiring, and you're not willing to invest 20 minutes a day, then you don't really want it. Now, I know that sometimes 20 minutes sounds like a lot. And I do these adventures with people. It's 32 days, and I ask them to engage in something for 20 minutes a day, my assignments that I give them. And so often I hear, oh my God, I'm so busy. And then I'm like, okay, tell me everything you do. And there's always Well, I'm watching TV at the end of the day, or I'm playing on Facebook. How much you playing on Facebook? Well, about 45 minutes a day. Yeah, so let's just take half of that and engage it into your life in a bigger way. You know, I used to just watch a lot more TV, play a lot more games, do things that were a real distraction. And I thought that they were the things that made me happy. Except it was like an hour of it gave me like a millimeter of happy. So I'd have to do it for 4 or 5 hours to get all the happiness I wanted. When, you know, dancing for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, reading for a few minutes, you know, coloring and drawing and doodling, writing, all these things bring me an immense amount of happiness in a really short amount of time. So instead of like junk food happiness, I try to go for nutritionally dense happiness. There we go. So really start playing and experimenting and seeing. So the other side of the equation is the inside path. And to me, that really comes down to the question of which eyes am I looking through? Am I looking through the eyes of happiness? Am I willing to look through the eyes of joy, of my electric, creative wholeness? Or am I going to be stuck in a story? You know, because most of the time when I'm stuck in a story, I'm not full on in happy. I can experience some joy, but it's often real conditional, like, oh, I got this thing, that means I can be happy. Or I did really well, that means I can be happy. When I'm looking through the eyes of happiness, when I'm choosing into that, I'm doing that on purpose. I'm really conscious about it. And I get to be happy no matter what, which is awesome. So to do that, I think, you know, the first thing is it's just to really notice what's present. What's the story that's going on? You know, what's in the way of happy? And be really honest with yourself in that. It's like, what's in the way of your happiness right now? Is it, you know, a density in your belly? Is it an ache in your heart? Is it a story of not enoughness in some area of your life? And those, you know, there's things that may not be true, may be true there rather. You know, it's like there may not be as much of this or as, you know, little as that as you would like. And you can still choose happy. There can be turmoil, and you can still choose happy. Those things, you know, the external challenges may not disappear right away, but if what you're committed to is a real amazing human experience, into having joy and happiness and pleasure and electricity and love and goodness rolling in your life, then you get to choose it. So the first step is, you know, what are you choosing into right now? So if you're not happy in, you know, in a really robust sort of way, what are you now? What's the sensation? What's the feeling? What's the story? You know, and I do this, I know, a bunch of times in here, you know, and on the podcast and all the time in the work that I do with people. But to me, it comes down to, are you willing to love the part that's in the way right now? Because what happens is when you love the part that's hurting, that's sad, that's yelling, that's not happy, if you're willing to love the part of you that is not choosing into happiness, then you stop being that part. You stop looking through the eyes of that part. You can't be in the story and love that story at the same time. So it's amazing. The moment you start loving, you're choosing happy. And then from there, it's like, well, so what can expand that happiness? Then we go back and look at the actions. And sometimes those actions for me are really simple. It's like just 10 deep breaths. Like, ooh, you know, I'm feeling something like good bubble up. I'm just going to breathe into that. Let the sensation expand in my body. But the first step to that, like I said, is the awareness of, I'm not choosing into happy right now. What am I choosing? What eyes are you looking through in this moment? And again, be really real, be blunt, be honest. If you're not having the emotional experience that you want in this moment, the energetic experience that you want in this moment, you can. But you have to admit what you are experiencing right now. What's in the way? And then I invite you, if it's helpful, just feel what's in the way. Close your eyes. Just feel it in your body if you can. Be really present with what you are choosing. Ask it. Ask the energy. If there's anything it wants to tell you, any wisdom that it has, this is its time. You're about to choose into something else. So, ask it. It can be helpful to allow the energy to take shape, to look at a picture of it as you ask it. And then just let the information flow and trust yourself. It's hard sometimes. People are often like, I think it's saying, or I'm hearing this. It's like, I just trust it. It doesn't matter. Sometimes beautiful wisdom flows. Sometimes, a song comes forward. Sometimes it's just a sensation, or sometimes it's this like odd inner knowing. And just trust it for the sake of this. And then look at the image and send it love. Just as it is. Just as it is. Send it love. It doesn't need to do anything different. It's fine just the way it is. And in that moment, you've stopped identifying with it. It no longer, has control over your perspective. You've stepped out of it. So again, we can't be in the sensation that we're loving. In the story, if we're willing to love the story, then we have to step out of the story in order to do that. And so in that moment, you're right back in the truth of who you are. And the truth of who you are is love. The truth of who you are is happiness. The truth of who you are is joy. And you get to choose into that. That's how you choose into it. You identify what you are choosing. You love it. And then you come back into yourself, and from there. And I think it's really important, like the moment you disidentify from the story and stand back in that place of love, that you take a moment and like, okay, so what do I want to do now? What's the action? So we have all those actions we talked about earlier. What do you want to do with them? What are you going to do in this moment? Is it going to be a deep breath? Are you going to dance? Are you going to go outside? Are you going to call someone you love and take some time to do art? What is it? You get to decide. But choose something that's really enhancing of the experience of happiness. Because again, if you want to choose into it, it requires that you stop choosing something else and start participating in the things that light you up. So how are you choosing happiness today? I want to know. Tell me your stories. You can leave a comment here on Facebook or shoot me an email at joanna@joannarothman.com. And if you've gotten this far and you don't know, I'm doing a program called the Electric Creative Experience. And it really is 32 days of choosing into electricity, into happiness, into joy. It's 32 days in a group experience. It's subtle, it's gentle, it's amazingly it's intensive without being overwhelming, and it's just amazingly fabulous. And I'm so super excited to be presenting it. It starts really soon. It starts on Monday, the 14th, and it's $99. You can find out all the details on the website at joannarothman.com. There's a button right in the center that says the Electric Creative Experience. And if you have questions or want to know more, just hit me up at joanna@joannarothman.com. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.